Yo, you know what's fucking wild? I finally figured out the reference to Bridgerton. Remember a few weeks ago you started asking like if you could go back to any era, which era would it be and why?
Yeah, but it wasn't. I wasn't implying Bridgerton, but that's what Ranjit said. That's why I
Yeah,
started laughing.
but I was so confused because have no idea what Bridgerton was,
Oh,
right? So I
okay.
was like,
Yeah,
I was just trying to play it cool. And then my wife's just been binging this West show for the last few weeks, and I had no idea what
yeah.
show it was.
I hate
I
that show.
I literally walked downstairs one day and it was on. I'm like, is this? Are you
Oh, I get it.
rewatching Downton Abbey or something? She's like, no, it's
Yo,
Bridgerton.
Downtown Abbey is pretty sick, man. I don't mind Downtown
I
Abbey.
actually oddly got into Downton Abbey. I didn't realize I would.
Yeah,
Uh,
man. Same with me. I'm like, I ain't gonna watch that. Put it on. I'm like, yo, this ain't bad.
I don't know why I got into it, but I did. And then I'm like, oh no. She's like, this is Bridgerton. I was like, Bridgerton. And I started chuckling. She's like, why are you chuckling? I'm like, oh, Robbie and Ranji, their wives make them watch this shit. She's like, what do you mean they make them? I'm like, I don't know. Robbie brought it up. I had no idea what Bridgerton
I di-
was.
no, no. Ranji brought it up. I didn't bring it. I was saying it. I was talking about Taboo. You know that move, the show Taboo with
Tom Hardy.
Tom Hardy. But it's the
Yeah,
same
yeah.
era, same kind of genre, right?
Yeah, but
So
then I don't know. Then I was like watching the Bridgerton. I'm like, this universe is cool. And I guess having what I realized is cool about Bridgerton's, it's a make believe era because it's not a real era because there's no racism. They
yeah,
intermingle race so much. And I'm like, I was so confused. I'm like, so the black kings and queens, they have duchesses who have black slaves. I don't get it. Like, no, no, this show
it's like
kind
an
of gets rid
alternate
of race.
reality.
It's a
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
utopia of race in that time
I
period.
don't know, man. I ain't down with
And
that.
I
I,
was
I
and
like
I was
I like the historical stuff, so I ain't down
I
with
was
that.
just so confused. I'm like, so, and then there was an Indian couple on that show, and I'm like, hold on, the white people are dating the Indians, and that's all copacetic. No one's talking about race. Yeah, yeah, like racism doesn't exist in this universe. We're well beyond that. But I'm like, but wealth inequality exists. She's like, yeah, 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 they
Exactly.
still have that, but they don't got race. So I was like, okay.
Yeah, sure.
Then I was like, huh. And then she's like, I know you might like the show. You like Downton Abbey, and you didn't like it at first. I was like, yeah, but at this point, I just feel like a punk watching this, so I'm not going to.
Just talking? Well, what's the show about? It's about nothing. It's about nothing.
Just want these guys to know you got another thing coming, bitch. I'm still around.
Loki, I might just go back. I've been watching Bel Air still friggin' smacks. I don't know why I
I
talk
still have
trash.
honestly after I told you guys I never watched it again. To be honest with you, I just
Yo, I'm just
yeah, I
totally
just
still
dropped it. I'm
digging.
like, you don't have time, yo.
I still dig Bel Air. That show's been getting better. Have you watched the new Halo show?
No, I'm gonna wait a few episodes and sit down and I'll
It's at
catch up.
episode 3. I'm digging that show too. Production
I
quality
just
on
fin-
that show. This
I
show's
just
getting a lot of
finished.
hate though.
Yeah, but any of those like fanboy shows get hate, right? You're gonna have
It's
the haters and people who love it. So, Billions, I'm caught up on that. That's probably the one I've
was
been
it?
watching.
I
But
fell off on Billions. I need to go back to it.
it's just an easy watch, right? It's like you need one of those shows that you're like, you just put it on. I don't even care what happens.
It wasn't even
It's
that easy,
fine.
but okay. So I'll go back to Billions. But talking about
I felt like,
Billions,
yeah,
look, don't
billions
care.
and billions and billions.
Billions and billions and billions. Billions is the new millions. Federal budget had a lot of billions in it.
Lots of billions, man. Lots of billions. You
What,
didn't
what
do the
were you?
intro. You just
Oh
jumped
yeah,
into it. Oh,
it
no
was
intro
good.
today.
All right, I have Doctor Rajveer,
Just
Doctor Robbie, Doctor Robbie. Please,
just Rob. I'm good with Rob.
Doctor Rob. Please don't give away my real name and my real practice. Doctor Rob on my left. I'm Shinda Singh. As you will notice,
There you
there is
go.
no Ranjit
Ranjit.
Esquire,
Ranj. No, no, Ranj. We
no
established
Ranj
that his name
Esquire,
is Ranj. Ranj is
not
actually
Ranch.
currently
Yeah,
not Ranch the dressing, just Ranj. Not Rash, Ranj. Ranjit's currently gone into, I believe it's Istanbul, to get a hair transplant. So I'm sure he'll be back,
isn't that
looking
where they
more
take
fuller than ever.
hair transplants? I remember hearing that, or I don't know if someone was trolling, but they take like hair from some nether regions and transplant it. Was that
If
true?
he has that, maybe I don't know. We'll have to ask him when he comes back. So I'm
I
sure it's
remember.
gonna be a
I don't
very
know if
detailed
someone was
story.
chirp. Like I know nothing about hair transplants. God willing, I have a great set of hair. But I remember someone saying they're like, "Yo, when you get a hair transplant, they take it from your nether regions because the hair there is different." Or I don't know. I don't know
Yeah,
if it was
yeah.
a
I
chirp or if
mean,
it was
it's
real.
I'm assuming they take cells, right? So that makes sense. Why not? You know,
Uh, So yeah,
But
Ranjit's
yeah,
getting
we'll
a
ask
hair.
we'll ask him, right? I don't think this is gonna age well when I'm bald in 10 years, so I'll just put that out now.
It's kind of impressive you haven't bald so far.
I thought I was going, man. I got like this widow's peak, and it's been okay.
You know what's weird is when people start balding in first year uni. That's when it really starts to hit people who have like that genetic
Yeah,
thing.
or you kind of feel bad for them, really.
Like
You know,
they peaked at
like
high
I think
school,
like
and
you
after,
actually feel bad for their alopecia, not like Jada. But
so much is coming out about that Jada thing. But yeah,
but
so
yeah,
as you
man,
notice, Ranj is not here because he's
he's
getting a hair transplant in Istanbul.
yeah, yeah, Istanbul.
Wishing him the best. It's a very hard and tough procedure. So
I heard it's painful, man. But honestly, I would do it. Like I'm always critical of a lot of that stuff, but something about hair, man. You need to
you
have
gotta
it.
have, you know,
You
the worst
gotta
is
have it.
when Singh's bald. It's like they're losing their identity.
Yo, I feel bad for them. Like all my uncles in India, all of them, they're bald, so they have the little good, they're holding on to that little goodie, right? But it's it's
I
your
know a
identity,
lot
man.
of
You do
Singhs who
you.
are bald underneath their distade, but you would never be able to tell. But I've seen most
Like,
things
hold
without
on,
the
like
distade.
are they like bald, like no hair, or is it kind of like a bald?
They got the tiny little gutti.
Oh, they've actually lost the volume of their hair.
They've lost so much volume that when they take KC, their hair doesn't go back. Like whatever hair they have left doesn't extend past their neck.
And how old are these gentlemen you're talking about?
Our age, 40s, 30, late 30s, mid 30s.
Okay, that's hard, man, because that's your like identity,
So
right?
they're like I'm at that weird place where I have. See, I'm gonna curse myself, so I'm just gonna stop talking about it. But like, these are the guys who like look at me like, "Oh my god, what do you do?" I'm like, "Not castor oil." They're like, "I'm on the castor oil thing." I'm like,
What
"What?"
tail are you using?
Yeah, no, castor oil. I didn't even realize this was a thing. People legit take castor
Well,
oil to
wait,
rub
that's
it on their
so
scalp
that's
too.
so that's interesting. I mean, if you are wearing
At the
the
start.
sod all the time, does it matter?
I mean, technically no, but I think some people's identity's so like tied into having long hair that at some point you just kind of feel like, oh man, I don't like looking in the mirror. I look twice as old.
Mm. Like
I
I know all
think
the men in my family are doing they're bald at the top, so they're growing it long and then tying it around, so it
I feel
looks
like
like you
that.
have a goatee. Like a
Yeah.
lot of them are doing it because they have the side hair. But yeah, man, that's
I mean, hair is one of those
I
things
if I was tying it, like I know some guys who go bald and they start tying pagga,
just to
like
hide
they go
it.
the other way, yeah, just to hide it, right? So that's another
I
issue.
always wonder how hard it would be to tie it without because you lose that friction. Because your hair actually
Mm.
helps keep it in place, right?
But isn't that what the 50 is about? Like if they were a butt gun of 50, that's kind of going to keep it
Yeah, but like
secure
even the
to some
patka
degree.
without it, yeah, it does.
Mm.
But I don't know, like sometimes I tried tying at the start on Monday and stuff, and I'm like, you guys have no Judah for me to like wrap it around and hold, give it shape and
It's a skill, man, because like yeah, I've tried learning, and my bug's not very good, right? Like you try, right? Like
yeah.
it's a skill that I want to know. So whatever, I have my own way of tying it, but it's not good, hands down. It just doesn't look. It's not a bug I would present to someone. So my sister's wedding was 2 years ago, and I met another guy, and he ties it for free, and he takes donations. Um,
That's pretty
he's a
dope.
yeah, he's a local real estate agent. So he
All right,
goes,
we gotta
just
plug
donate what
him.
you want.
You gotta plug
I
him.
forgot, I forgot his name. I'm gonna get his name though. I'll bring it next week.
This is so much for
Uh,
plugging this guy. The guy is doing straight up seva, helping people tie the
yo,
stud and not charge.
I was so impressed by him.
You know how many people have started
And
actual businesses doing this now? They're like charging
yeah,
money for it.
so he just takes the money and donates. He does like charity back home. I'm pretty sure he was a Monna, but he knows how to tie it. Like he has that skill
That's
that
even
he can
more
tie it
wild.
on anybody, right? So I was like, yo,
You know
this
what's
guy,
wild
that's
about that?
talent. Yeah,
I know Sings for charging money to tie the stars, and here you have a Mona tying the star for free. This
because
world
he
is
is balling.
backwards.
He doesn't need the money.
This world is changing, man. Yeah, I thought it would.
That's messed up when
That's
you say
blowing
it
my
that way.
mind. Think
That's
about
messed
it.
up. Shame
But
on all you
yeah,
sings out there.
charging money
Shame,
for the stars. Yeah, fuck.
shame.
Um,
Yeah, that should be free.
it should be something Gordo has, like has classes for. Actually, now that I think about it,
That's
seeing as how everything in the Gordo is
no,
volunteer
but
based,
there are people
should probably
doing that
step up to that.
volunteer. They're doing like the bug tying classes and all that. That's all free. So there
Yeah.
are people doing that save out there.
Low key, I don't think anyone's trying to learn how to tie my butt bug. I think I've been shipped about how messy my start is since I was 12. I just
You know what's
never.
great? You know what's crazy? I actually understand how someone can tie a tutti pug after studying it. I do not understand how you guys tie gold pugs.
It's easy. It's
I know it's easy, but I've just never even paid attention. So it's like, man, that's impressive. Yo, jug meats is like
yeah.
multiple layers. Like that takes skill, man, doesn't it?
So I used to live with a roommate once back in school who tied a very Jigmeet-esque pug. And the
Mm.
way they tied it, I think this isn't true for Jigmeet because I think he has a bug tutorial video. But this guy literally, each lud was its own piece. So it's like
Wow.
made up of multiple 50s almost. And
That
it was
seems
so.
very time intensive.
I
That
was watching him tie it. I was like, bro, what the fuck are you doing? Because the thought wasn't just like one like continuous piece of cloth.
yeah, one piece. It was just
It
separate
was like
pieces.
he had like 40 separate pieces that he tied in the back. I was like, and I was just so confused at that time. Like, because
But
I've been tying a Goldestat.
at the same time, I'm all for that individual style. Go for it, man. Make it your own, right?
But I was like, bro, who taught you tie it this way? Because you're doing it. I'm like, you can get that same look without the 50 individual pieces. Like, the wind blows, your puncture is coming off, not friggin' like at one nut that you can retie. Like, hold on,
Uh-oh.
here's my
So
fourth, 50th nut.
just confetti in the wind.
It's so wild. I was so confused. It's like one of those things that you didn't realize people did differently until you actually lived with someone. And then I was like,
Yeah, fair
huh.
enough. But that's with anything, any mannerisms. You having roommates is weird, actually. You know, because it's mad weird because you start to learn about little, differences and things you do, and it could be the slightest thing, but they can irk you, right? Like that has no bearing on your life, but you watched it, you're like, yo, this bugs me. It bugs me how you do something, right?
It
So
was so strange because I think when I first moved out to university, obviously that was my first time really living away from home.
yeah,
And then I moved in with a bunch of Punjabis. And then you realize how different everyone's like routine is. Because you think, yo, as Sikhs, we all have a set routine. And growing up with all my cousins and stuff, I slept over. We all had very similar routines,
yeah,
right? So you kind of expect everyone maybe kind of does everything in the same way.
nah,
Then when I moved in with my roommates, they were also Sikh. They were also Punjabi. A lot of them were, one or two were Amritari, some were in the process of taking Amrit. So I'm
yeah.
like, okay, their lifestyle is gonna be a little bit, similar to mine because we're all. But even then, it was so much different. I was like, hey, and
Yeah, but
I wasn't
it's
trying to be judgmental.
weird,
I just
right?
thought it was different, and I'm
But
picking up on it.
that's anything we do, right? There's little habits that bug us, but I think living with someone it just highlights the things. It can make you a better person. There's that
Hmm.
side of it too, things that
Yeah, yeah, you pick
you
things up.
know, yeah, and things that you're not good at. But it's funny how the little things can bother you so much. It's like, when I had one roommate, he would just put the forks in the wrong, like just in the wrong spot, and nothing big,
What
but
do
it
you mean
would
wrong spot?
piss.
Like he had a
Yeah, just
different spot for it than what you were used to, or he'd just like
different,
throw it
right?
up. It'd be
Different. It's
bad
just
if you
different.
had a set thing and then he'd constantly put the forks, just throw them wherever they went. That would be super annoying. Like if you didn't adhere to your set.
Yeah. And no, but it was just different. It's like, you go and it wasn't the fact of the action, but it's reminding you that someone else is doing it another way. And so
Yeah,
you get more irked about the idea than the actual action, right? So, that would bother me a lot. But uh yeah, man, living with people is interesting. But so when I went to the UK, you had roommates, so I lived with all different types of people. Gurdeep, Punjabi, so on and so forth. And then at one point, I was working in a town, and I had to find a place to live very, very quickly. And I met some Punjabis just literally walking down the street, and I just said hi. I'm like, "How you guys doing?" Struck up a conversation, and they were just like students here, and they're like, "Yo, why don't you come live with us?" And I entertained the idea, and I don't know why I did. Dude, they brought me over. It's like 40 guys in a house. I'm like, yo, I can't do this. I just can't. It doesn't matter how many Punjab. I just can't do it, man. I'm out. Love you, but I can't. I'm sorry. Just when you've gone through it, you can't do it anymore. So that was the last time. I never had a roommate after that, actually. So, you know.
I never had bizarre roommates. My first group of roommates was the most epileptic. My second year roommates, that was when I lived with Ranjit. He probably thought I
Yeah.
was the weird one because I think I friggin' embarrassed this guy so many times. Like he'd bring like people over, and Ranjit. I don't know if you guys know Ranjit. Ranjit's very friendly with everyone. So he'd
Yeah,
have like,
he's a mama, everyone's mama.
yeah, he's everyone's mama. This guy'd bring it was me and another friend who I won't say out of sheer embarrassment for him. He brought two girls over that he was going out with later that night to pick up some other friends with.
Yeah.
And the girls came over first to grab Ranji because they had the car. And
Yeah.
they came into our friggin' apartment, and me and this other guy were just sitting there in our cacheta and banana. Right? And that's a normal thing for Singh. If you know a Singh house,
Straight
Singhs
up,
just
normal.
live in a cacheta most of the time. So we're sitting there in our cacheta banana, and we're just watching the Raptors. And we didn't really have a sofa,
Yo,
so
what
we're sitting on like lawn chairs, I think, is what we had. And then two girls came, and we're like, well, this is awkward. Because he didn't tell us that, he's bringing people over. So we're just sitting there. We just kind of nodded at them.
Yeah, just ignored the whole situation. Like, what are you gonna do?
And they were in this awkward place, like, do we wait in the living room? And he's like, no, you guys can wait in my room while I get ready. And then I remember after he left, he was like, holy fuck, can you guys please put a shirt on next time? We're like, we're too far gone. They've already arrived.
Done.
Yeah. And it wasn't even like a clean banana at the time, right? It was like a stained banana for both of us.
But it's not even the cacheta. Everybody lives that life. Boxer briefs, boxers, all guys are doing it.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be cacheta per se, but if you don't expect someone to come over like that, yeah, that's what's gonna happen.
Like the door open, we're just sitting there eating dinner, watching the Raptors. We literally like nodded. I think they were like, "What the fuck?"
And just close the door slowly, like, yeah, see you later.
We just walk. Yeah. The weirdest thing I had a roommate do, and I don't know if this was weird. Really, it was. We were watching a movie, and he kept fast forwarding through all the dialogue. I was like,
that's weird.
I was like, why do you keep fast forwarding? He's like, this is all the boring stuff. I just want to see the action scenes. And I was like, bro, when we said we're going to watch a movie, I implied that we want to watch the whole movie, not just like the clips. And he's like,
That's someone who hasn't learned has never been in a proper social setting. If
Yeah,
you're sitting with someone, you start fast forwarding a movie. That's weird.
I was kind of like,
He's a weirdo. That guy was weird. Why would you do that?
he low key was a bit weird because
There
he
you
had
go.
some other. What was another thing that we did? He insisted that lion milk can only be held in a gold bottle. So
What
don't
milk?
ask me about lion's milk.
Lion, like lion, like a lion.
Lion, like first off, I don't know who's milking a lion and having lion milk, right? Like, does someone have like a lion in the back that they're milking?
I thought it was a brand you're talking about, but you're being
No,
serious.
no.
An actual like
Swear to God.
from a lioness. Okay.
From a lioness. This guy had somehow concocted that if you milk a lioness and you have the milk, it can only be held in a gold bottle. Otherwise, it's so acidic and so like pure that it's gonna burn through everything else. And we're like, and this became such a hotly debated thing in our household that night. Like we had four guys, all of them sitting around, just really trying to make sure that we didn't misunderstand him, that it wasn't some folklore that he was like dead serious. Like, brother, trust me, I've seen it. I'm like, who have you seen milk a lion? He's like, you haven't?
I've been
I was
there.
like,
I've been to.
I was in such shock that first off that we're having this conversation with him, but the fact that we couldn't to break it to him that, dude, and you know what? It's not even, this guy was in engineering, so he understood, he had chemistry background. He has chemistry courses in his like syllabus or whatever. So like, it was just like, you're in STEM, bro. Come on.
Was it doing it from like a religious
No, he was
religious
doing,
view, like because lions and like that kind of sense, or is he kind of like being serious, like as no, this is an actual fact from science?
no, I think he was coming at it from, it's an actual fact of science with a big tinge of Punjabi culture applied to it. Not religious, just lions are the most dominant creature and they're so strong that even their milk can't be held. But he was like arguing it from like a scientific point of view that we were just so.
I mean, if we're wrong, I think that's pretty cool, but I don't think we are. So
One off, who has a gold bottom really friggin' test, and two, why
Who's
would
milked the
gold?
lioness?
No, why would gold, one of the softest metals, be the metal that can actually hold?
Yo, look, I ain't gonna pretend I even remember the chemistry, but the story sounds ridiculous. Yo, I had a dude on a couch. That's my favorite story. I actually had a guy living on our couch for half a semester. Yeah, man. He had his own place to live. He just wanted to live on our couch for some reason.
He's just like, your
Every
place
day
is
he would
bumping.
I don't know.
Literally,
Well, I lived with a
walking.
bunch of Sings the first year, so maybe he just wanted to be around the Sings. But I never understood it. I'm like, yo, you don't have a place of your own? You need to go home, man.
You're like, you're clearly not contributing to rent, so
Oh,
You
I
want
didn't. I didn't really even care about that. It's just hilarious, man.
All
You
right, here's
just
a real question
decided.
for you. Were you a frozen roti guy?
Oh, not frozen because I would bring them fresh and keep them in the fridge. So not really frozen.
But your
We
mom the weekend before would do all your roti and sabji and like send it.
just my first semester. After that, no, I never really ate roti at school. We'd have a lot of rajma chol. That would be like rice and chol and stuff like that. But roti, no.
So you weren't big on the grocery. Like I was when I went to university, I was like, yo, we gotta do groceries. We just gotta. But I wasn't. I was doing mostly sidekicks and like potatoes. But I'm
To
like,
be
yeah, I
fair,
can't do the frozen
honestly,
stuff.
so I went to Waterloo for my undergraduate. That wasn't moving away. Being an hour from your house is not you moving on your own because you literally will revert back to the comforts of home, like food, for example, right? But when I lived abroad, I would never, no, I'd do naan. Like it would be naan and the parote and stuff like that, but never really got into the frozen things because it's not the same, right? It's not
Yeah.
even close. Yeah.
No, I had a
I
few.
would go to a restaurant and just
Oh,
grab,
okay. I mean, I
yeah,
didn't have enough
like
money for
roti or
that.
whatever.
You clearly
It's not
were
that
balling,
expensive.
right?
Yeah,
There,
right.
there was no Uber Eats back then, man. Actually, going to the restaurant actually meant I had to leave the house, which just wasn't happening.
No, Glasgow was cool because there was a bunch of Indian restaurants, and I got to know some of the workers and some of the tandoor chefs because they
Yeah,
were just illegals working, and I would just talk to them, and then once in a while I would take them out for a coffee or something. And if I'd walk in the restaurant, they'd tell the guy downstairs he'd make me fresh roti, and I'd dip home.
any
So that's
day.
what I would do.
That's
Yeah, that's
that.
what I would do.
That's love right
So that
there,
was
man.
that was the kind of link I had. It wasn't I was sitting down at the restaurant, but I would just say, "Hey, can you cook me
Hook
up
me up.
something?" Or if I would actually go sit in the restaurant and I go, "Paji," like I start talking to them, and they'd actually make me like proper, like home style Punjabi food
So you
because I
actually
didn't
had
want to
like
eat the
you had the tiffin service without the tiffin
no.
service.
Yeah, yeah, fair enough.
Like you,
Oh, but you
they
gotta
would just
talk
hook
to
it up,
people, right?
right? I
Yeah,
mean,
they were nice
that was my
enough.
problem. I don't talk to people. But moving back to what we were originally going to talk about before you rudely interrupted me on
I rudely interrupt you.
rudely interrupted me on introductions. By the way, I
Talking
should
about
listen.
being broke. Let's talk about our
Yeah,
country.
yeah, talking about being broke, the federal budget. What were your thoughts? Anything stand out?
Stand out. We're spending a lot. That's what's standing out. Um, I mean, there's obviously a bunch of points in there. Where do you want to start? You want to start with housing? What's your
Housing
thought on
was
the
the only
housing
thing I
housing
really looked
initiatives?
at. We're giving $500 to everyone looking to buy a house. The fuck is that?
Great, a lot of help, man. A lot of help.
What was the total? It was like almost 800, $400 million that we're gonna end up spending doing that.
And
Half a billion.
even the account that they're opening up,
The
the
tax-free
savings account.
savings.
So it's what is it? 40,000 max. I forgot how many a year contributions. But what's a person going to do with that? That's not going to change your ability to buy. Saving only 8 grand a year. Let's be real. When the houses are 1 point something million, what are you going to save? How is that really going to, offset unless you start saving right when you're like, 18 and
18.
keep, keep putting into that account? Fine. Now you got, now you maybe have
Hold on,
the
is that
potential to
account
have the savings.
that account's maxed at 40?
That's what they said, 40,000, but it's up to 40 years of age as well.
So
So
if,
you only have a short window of time. So for me,
so
I'm like, that doesn't matter to me.
that's
Like
where we're
anybody of
all.
my friends are like, yeah, like what's the point, right?
Yeah,
So
there were some other things in
uh,
there that were kind of weird. Hold on, I'm just looking this up. I had this open in my notes. Here we go. So you talked
well,
about
the foreign buyers. That's
that
a
was
big
a
point.
the foreign
Yeah,
buyer thing. I always thought was a little weird in that one, how much is foreign buying actually affecting our market?
yeah.
I know
I
it's
mean,
been something
is it
that
more of a hot topic? Is that something people just say as soon as we start talking about the real estate market, saying, "Oh, it's foreign buyers." So
100%.
it was kind of so was it just easy for them to say, "Okay, let's cancel and have a win," right?
Yeah, because and I know had this whole thing a long time ago where CBC was doing documentaries on Vancouver's empty mansions that were
Yeah,
owned by foreign buyers, but they
foreign
show the
buyers.
same two mansions almost every single time, right? So it's like, hold on, you have two of these cases that you're now extrapolating and making
Look,
up big in
it's a big deal because I mean, I guess foreign money's now
banned from
anybody
the real
with
estate
foreign money.
market.
Yeah, I mean, real estate market. So there's not a way to clean your money, if you will,
Hmm.
by investing and selling a house a few years later. Will it cool the market? Maybe
I don't think so. Just
Well,
because I
maybe
don't think it was that
momentarily.
big of a problem. That's
Well, I think the interest rates is going to be the more interesting aspect of it. If the interest rates keep going up, your ability to get a mortgage and so on and so forth is going to get harder. That will
100% agree with
release,
that.
yeah, that will stagnate the
That's not in
market.
the
But
budget. That's
what I
outside
thought,
of the
what I would
budget.
have thought, what I thought would have been cool is okay. First, ban foreign buyers. So my my point was that if let's say for example the number of foreign buyers is a large enough number to make a difference. What I thought would have been cool is if they took those foreign buyers and give them a tax break to sell their houses. You can't buy again, but if you want to sell, we won't tax you, right? So
That
take them.
sounds really smart.
Now these guys want to get out. Hey, guess what? There's a lot of supply. All of a sudden, some people can get some houses, and then you move on, right? So there's ways. Like I was like, okay, you could do this, you could do that, but what's that actual number? And the question is, why don't they release that? What is the number of foreign occupied homes in
But
Toronto?
here's the thing with foreign buyers, because I remember they increased the taxation on foreign buyers not too long
Yeah.
ago. And by not too long ago, I think this was like 6 years ago. Time just kind
Okay.
of melds into itself for me. But one of the big things was, okay, so now you can't buy straight up as a foreign buyer, but you can buy through a company who specializes in
A corporation.
buying. Yeah.
There you go. There's too many loopholes, right? So like it's
Right.
like money's still going to come in. They're just going to find a new way of doing it, right?
And
So
that's the one.
let's say
That's the one thing about politics that I think a lot of people don't pick up on early is a lot of policies come about when the actual effect of the policy is so small that they're like, it's an easy way for us to say we're doing something without actually doing something.
exactly.
it's
But isn't
just
that all politics?
That's
Not
90%
all
about
politics.
politics. It's just being able to market
Yeah.
what you're doing without
I
actually
mean,
having
look-
done anything.
Look at the Dougler. The amount of announcements that guy's making.
But yo,
it's like
they're
he hasn't
legit
worked that hard in
announcements.
4 years. Hey, why don't you make them during your like
Hold
why
on.
all of a sudden, right?
Hold on.
Come on.
Hold on. That's because he knows that people only remember the last few things you do right before an election.
So now are
So-
you doing it? Are you wait? Are you doing it for the sake of the betterment of the province, or for the sake of I'm gonna announce it so I win again?
I mean,
And you're
look,
playing politics. That's politics.
he has 4 years to accomplish the things he says he's going to accomplish. Whether he
As long
does
as it's
them
in the
year
4
one,
years.
whether he does them year one, whether he does them year two, whether he does them,
All right,
it doesn't
all right.
matter. As long as they happen within those 4 years, he can say this happened within that
Well,
4 years.
mind you, they took some of his wind out of his sails, if you will, with this foreign buyer ban, because that was the news last week. Oh, he put this tax on it, and then all of a sudden, hey, no more foreign buyers, and everyone's like, oh, we forgot he even did that. So, kind of, the budget wasn't too nice on him on that. So,
All right, fair enough. Another thing they did that was interesting was blind bidding.
I didn't know. So why don't you give some context, because I didn't read that.
So basically, hold on, let me pull up the actual supported comment here. But basically, right now, what happens is realtors get bids on homes,
Yes.
and they're like, "Give us all your offers, and we'll release at a certain point which one we take." They're kind of
Yeah.
saying, "No, you can't. You have to tell us what the current bid is on a house, and like it shouldn't just be this one process." So everyone, they're kind of like, if I'm buying a house and they have an offer,
Yeah.
even if they're taking offers at the end of a certain point, they should be releasing what those bids are and making it more like a fair auction.
Transparency. So that's what we're saying. It has to be more transparent.
A little bit more transparent rather than me saying, "Oh well, he has an offer. All right, I'm going $200,000 over or something."
Yeah,
right?
the best is Paji, 100,000 Pado, you get the house, and you're kind of like 100,000. That's
They're like, at least make it work like eBay. We only move the thing up to the dollar
Yeah.
higher.
Yo, but I had a cool idea with that too. What if what if we invent a bidding system for houses, where your bids are tracked, kind of something like blockchain, let's say, and everything's transparent. You see who the bid's coming from as you selling the house. You see everything come in, and you get to decide. And if it's the last 10 bidders, you put them in a room and, hey, you guys are the last 10, go for it. And it's just clear, right? Just like any auction. What's with the secrecy? If you go to buy a classic car, you're finding out what the bids are from all over the world on the phone. If they can manage it in the span of 5 minutes when they sell a car, how can we not figure this out for a $1.2 million transaction on a house? It doesn't make sense. But the advantage is to the real estate agent. all the the smoke and mirrors is just going to elevate that price. Keep it transparent. And I don't know if it's going to bring down the housing market, but maybe it'll make that process a little bit more, I don't know, easy to swallow, if you will. Not as, I haven't heard people coming out of a buying process lately not being bitter.
Because they're like, I mean, I felt like I overpaid when I paid, but I was like, I actually bid less than what the advertised rate was, so it's not
Yeah,
like
me
I paid
too.
more at the time, and I got it, but I still
got it too.
felt like I overpaid. I was like, damn.
Yeah, that's it. Because you
Like-
still felt like you felt like it's wrong for me. It's not even overpaying, right? Like, so when I bought my house, I did not want to do the bidding war. I was like, I can't do that. I don't have the, I would get really upset about that because I don't understand the concept. Why am I paying if the listing price is this? Why do you want me to dump in 200K? Like, it doesn't. That portion of it I just don't like. So luckily I bought at a time when there was a bit of a dip, and I was able to make my conditions and house inspection and all this, right? And that process for me was nice. I can't imagine buying now, and I feel sorry for people, right?
You know what sucks is you can't even put a home inspection on. That's the first thing you have to just.
That's the thing. So like the process, if we're saying, real estate agents are very big on, we're regulated professionals and XYZ, and mortgage agents will say, well, we're professionals. If you're professionals, then you should be held to the same accountability that I am in my job. If you do something shady, there's a college to complain to, because there's transparency and you can't hide behind it. So why don't we just make it transparent?
Well, I saw one message that's been circulating Facebook, and obviously once it gets posted on Facebook, it makes its way into all of my WhatsApp groups. It was basically a guy shitting on one of the Punjabi realtors in Brampton.
Yeah.
And he had written this post on a lawyer's public Facebook page.
Oh.
Because he was kind of like courting the lawyer for advice on his situation. And that's where it got shared from. And he was basically like, look, the realtor and the mortgage agent made me buy a house that I can't afford. Not buy the house, but like agree on a house. And he told him like, look, I can't get a mortgage. This is the most I can do, a down payment, and et cetera, et cetera. And then the realtor like, don't worry, you'll get your mortgage. We know how to make it happen. And then after they like close the deal, they're like, well, get your mortgage, because otherwise you're going to be held on the down payment part, or like the whatever, the deposit that you agreed to. And this guy's like, I told you guys ahead of time that this is all I could do, and you guys told me don't worry about it. We got you.
Yeah.
And obviously what the game, I don't know if you guys know how the game works here, is realtors and mortgage agents will say that, and when time comes to close, they'll be like, second mortgage 20%. We'll get it done.
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't want to do that. You guys conned me. So he's trying to see if he can like.
It all depends on. I wish we had the lawyer here, but he's too busy with his hair issues. But he could explain that to us. But I mean, the way I look at it is that another solution would be to be more stringent on the mortgage approval process. If we're coming out with QR codes for vaccines and are able to link everything, and you can't emulate with Photoshop, surely we can do that with our CRA papers. And once that's done, hey, guess what? Those Photoshop mortgage agents, it ain't happening anymore. So there is ways they can do it. But look, everyone's in on it. The problem is no one's defaulted.
I mean, the banks and the creditors are in on it too.
Everyone's on it, right? So
they're just like, give us what we need. Yeah.
Everyone's making money. But the minute it all crashes, and they're going to turn around and point fingers like Spider-Man, like, whose fault is it? Is it you? Enough. Is it you? So,
all right. So what you think? I'm going to read some of these things. Let me know what else. So the first time home buyers tax credit, they're going to increase that.
Yeah.
The budget doubles the first time home buyers tax credit to $10,000, which will result in a benefit of up to $1,500 to support home buyers.
Cool.
First time home buyers incentive incentive extension. The government has extended the first time home buyer incentive from its original expiration. Hold on. Government has approved 270 million in mortgages. I don't know what that means. Have you heard of this one?
I didn't look. The only one that I took out of that the housing stuff was the tax credit they're going to be giving for renovations, to allow multiple generation homes. So they're going to be providing 15% tax. No, any renovation. So basically, if you have someone 65 and older, or someone who's dependent or disabled, I believe, and you do renovations to allow them to live with you, there's going to be a tax credit for those renovations. And when I read that, I'm like, that's great. But I'm like, Desi Bramptons are going to be all built up and everyone's going to use those credits, right? So
Hold on.
I was like, so that's one of the things. I thought that was cool. So it's good, but we'll see how it
They're gonna increase
impacts.
the taxation on property flippers.
That's
So,
fair.
so
I
if
know,
you
but you
sell,
should be, but if you flip a stock and you pay tax, surely when you flip a house, you should pay tax.
So the thing with houses was if it's your primary residence within 12 months, you're not allowed flipping it, or 6 months. I think it was 8 months or something prior.
Yeah.
So if you bought a house and you had to hold it for 6 months at least before, if you sold it within 6 months, you'd have to pay capital gains on that.
Unless it's like some reason, right? Like a job relocation and you could prove it. Surely there's that.
Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if the government was just like, you just got to rent it for that outstanding thing.
Yeah.
But you had to have that as your address for a few months before. Because I remember when we bought our condo, that was a big thing on how long did we have to own it before we could start renting it out or selling it as an investment
Really?
property. Yeah. So
Yeah.
we actually stayed there for almost a good, I think the limit was 8 months, if I remember correctly at the time. But we ended up living there for almost 16
No,
months.
but I don't think is that just talking about your personal residence or any other residence? Because a lot of people just flip houses, right? They do
So
like the consignment sales and stuff like that. And are they going after them or are they going to look into that a little bit more? Because people aren't paying tax on that.
So let me read what it says here. It says, for those who plan to sell a property that they've held for less than 12 months, the government will apply the full tax rate on their profits as business income starting in 2023. There will be exemptions for certain life circumstances. So that's what you were talking about,
Yeah.
including death, disability, a new job, or divorce. That would suck,
Okay.
getting divorced right after buying a house.
Yeah.
That would be horrible. We will prevent foreign investors from parking their money in Canada by buying up homes, said Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland during her speech. We will make sure the houses are being used as homes for Canadian families rather than as a speculative financial asset. I mean, yeah. One thing I've always kind of been curious about is this new rise in real estate speculation, where people just buying up houses and trying to get a house because they know the market just keeps going up.
I mean, isn't that why we all bought houses? Because it was just like we needed it, but it's like if we wait too long, we might be priced out of the market. So, I mean, I
feel
understand
like,
that.
I feel like at the time that I bought the house, I would have bought the house regardless. We were looking to buy and move just because we wanted to move forward on the family situation, right?
But I mean,
there was definitely
even at
stress of if we don't buy now, the same house could cost us more in a year. So let's just park our money somewhere. So maybe if we didn't, we'd have waited like a few more months. But
I mean, at those levels, at the real estate prices that we got in, fine. Even then, they seemed astronomical. But now I look at it, I'm straight renting. Like I'd be like, I'm not getting into that game. I'm straight renting, and I'm gonna figure out how to make my money other
somewhere
ways.
else.
Yeah,
But-
man, because it's like unless you don't know how, or unless you think, I mean, it's a very Canadian notion that we need to own a house, or we
What's-
need to own a car, or we need to. These are very North American concepts, right? So like you go to Europe, everyone's renting.
But who are they paying rent to? Like there has to be.
Yeah, a landlord, right? But if it's
And is it that much?
But
They're
yo,
probably balling then.
if I got a 2-bedroom condo in the 80s, man, I would not be letting that go right now. I'd be living the rest of my life, probably paying like $800 in rent.
Is it a European concept or is it a Punjabi concept that you got to own your house?
I don't know. It's a Punjabi.
I always
concept.
thought it was a Punjabi concept. Punjabis are
because
big.
Punjabis are big about Jameen, right? But it's not like in India, they're buying 20 houses. They get in and they get stuck. We don't have that thing about buying property. We have property in terms of agriculture, but not in terms of residential.
But I think
we're not buying complexes in Punjab and putting them up for rent. We don't do that, right? That's not. But here it allows us to do that. So, I think it's the feeling of owning something.
That's what I
That's
was
very
kinda-
Punjabi.
if-
That's Punjabi, right?
like
so
every
we need to
Punjabi
own
person I know
something.
has always said, whatever you do, make sure do what you got to do to buy the house as fast as you can. Like if you would have to live with your brother, if you have to live with your cousins, if you have to live with roommates, and you always hear it from uncles, si iਕੱਠੇ ਰਹਿੰਦੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਸੀ ਜਦੋਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਆਏ ਸੀਗਾ, whatever, right? Like everyone did what they had to do to get that down payment to get their own houses.
Was it at that point? Was like, I mean, buying a house seemed reasonable, right? You saved your pennies,
I think at that time,
And
It
now you're
was
just like you do people's incomes and you look at the price of the house. You're like, something's not equating. Like it doesn't. What was it? I just got an email for new houses up to 400, starting at 2.6 million. I'm like, that's supposed to be your kind of like sales thing
selling.
to me. Like, oh, it's only 2 point. What's going on, right? We
Yeah.
grew up in the age where being a millionaire was a big deal. So maybe it's a mental thing with us. It's like, oh, that's a lot of money.
What's
You know,
weird is when you crack that millionaire like net worth, and all of a sudden you're like, huh, not near as attractive as it was when I was a kid.
I need to get my
Like
billion
my,
now, right? That's
you're like, well, clearly this doesn't mean what it did when I was a kid. What I thought it would mean. I
yo,
thought it
but
could
it's a lot of,
mean
but it's a lot of things like that. Like, um, I think I was going to talk to about you about Christy Freeland's shoes. You know how the finance minister always buys shoes. I don't know. I don't get the tradition. Whatever, it's cool. Do your
so. I
thing, right?
know with
I'm like, why don't they
Freeland's
buy a cool pair of
shoes,
shorts,
but
like
I
a
think
pair of Jordans? Like, you know.
I mean that
But
would be dope. But I remember
yeah,
with
getting
Paul
back. Sorry,
Martin,
getting
it was
back to
his
the point.
socks. Yeah,
Oh, was
go
it
ahead.
socks? Okay. Well, getting back to the point there was that, like even now, I was just talking to my wife about it, like from Jordans to even backpacks. Like I had to get a backpack recently, and I'm like looking just for travel, and I can't get over like I'm like a backpack $70, $70. I remember back in the day, we're like, yo, $40 get you a solid backpack, right? It's just that there's a mental block there with me. It's not being cheap. It's just one of those things. Like a pair, like even now, look at a pair of Jordans. I'm like, man, those are nice, but they're too expensive. They're not that expensive, but I just can't get over the fact that a shoe is gonna cost me like 200
I
bucks,
started
right?
working
So
at when I started working at a bigger tech firm. My second one, I bought a backpack for 200, I think it was around 200,
yeah,
$300. And I remember someone asked me like, "Yo, that's a really dope backpack. Like, where do I get it from? How much it cost?" I was like, $300." He was like, "What the?" He snapped. He's like, "You paid $300 for a backpack." I'm like, bro, before you judge me on this $300 backpack, I don't buy too many backpacks. This backpack's gonna last me a good decade, 2 decades. Two, it's a
yeah,
really
and
good laptop bag.
that's okay.
Has all the compartments. I'm
That's a
like, this
work
is the
expense.
perfect.
Yeah,
I was
it's a
like,
work
this is the
expense.
type of backpack.
It's for work.
And my wife was kind of shocked that I paid. She's like, it's not even leather. She's like, it's not even like a stylish
You should
backpack.
have
It's
been
not.
like, yo, I don't believe in killing animals. This is good. This is
No, but it wasn't.
alternatives.
It wasn't even like a brand name bag. Like it's not a Coach or anything, right? It was a tech company that made a backpack that was very tech heavy oriented. And I'm like, look, man, this backpack is very functional.
are you still using the bag today?
Still my go-to backpack for life. Like we
There you go.
travel, I'm like, this backpack is the best travel bag. It's the best everything
So
bag.
how many
It
years has it
justified
been?
it's
How many
going
years
on
has
year.
it been?
I think it's on year 6 now.
You're good, man. At 10 years, that's only $30 a
I
year, so you're
convinced two
fine.
other people to buy it too, and they're like, "Yo, dude, you weren't lying. This backpack is legit for."
I look some things that it cost. I bought a Toomey briefcase. Uh, this is really getting old.
Did you not move your mouse?
I was doing it.
I don't know what's
I
going on
mean,
with
it
yours.
must be a way to turn off that feature. But I bought a briefcase, but literally, I will use it for the rest of my life
I
because
always
it
wanted to
still
buy
looks
a
like the day I bought it.
briefcase.
Well, it's like a tech kind of laptop or whatever it is bag, but you know what? It's almost
Shoulder bag.
yeah, man, 8 years and still fine. So never traded in. But some things make sense. But shoes, man, I just can't get over expensive shoes. It's
I've
one of
never
those
been a
things.
shoe guy, but I know a lot of guys who are like sneakerheads, and they'll be like, "Oh, yo, I just paid $300 on these Jordans that I can't wear outside." And I was like,
Yo, one of my
I'm
patients, he's like telling me how to get. I'm like, yo, man, he had some cool Jordans on. I'm like, man, those are amazing. Every time I go buy them, they're sold out. And he told me all these like sites and like you can get on these lists and all that. I'm like, man, there's a subculture to all this, right? There's like
dude, you
there's a
don't even
way to
know.
no, like I know sneaker culture, but like even to get them, like there's this whole other method. I was like, man, that's too much work for me, and I'm not ready to pay the extra money to buy it on stock or whatever it is, that website. So I'll wait.
StockX, yeah. And, I'm at that point where I really like my white Adidas with the blue stripes, like those classic
Yeah,
Adidas.
yeah, man, yeah.
So I legit
It's cool.
every 2 years I'll just go buy a new pair. I don't gotta think about it. I know I like the look of these. They seem to have lasted since the 70s. Let's just keep going with them.
Yeah, it's like people wear the Stan Smiths and they've been wearing them since high school, and that's their shoe,
Yes. So like the
right?
standard
So
Adidas, and like when I go for runners, because my runner, the toe starts wearing out or whatever. Like
Yeah.
they legit
Yeah.
last me a good 4 years because I run very little, mind you. But when they
So
wear out,
you mean your walking shoe? Your
my
walking shoe is
walking
more
shoe.
appropriate.
But yeah, when I buy my new pair of walking shoes, I legit just walk into a store. Whatever they have in stock in my size is what I walk out with.
Wow.
There's no real thought on, hey, can this help me improve my vertical? I was just like, yeah, it looks coolish. It's nice, comfortable. Not too much going on here. I'm good. Keep it simple. Like New Balance, I'm already at the New Balance uncle age. I know Kwai tried to make New Balance cool again, but hipsters try to make New Balance cool. I'm just there because they're always in
New
stock.
Balance. Like if you're gonna get a good running shoe, you can get a good running shoe. I got my kids New Balance shoes once, but
And how they feel?
no, they were. You know what I couldn't get for my kid was half sizes in the toddler sizes,
Oh,
and
okay.
and the shoes were hurting her feet, and I'm like, New Balance of all places had it, so I bought her. But I mean, my favorite running shoe is a Mizuno.
I don't even know what that is, to be honest.
You've heard of Mizuno, the company, Mizuno, Japanese company.
No.
Well, whatever. Exactly, right? No one's even heard of it. But, you like what you like, and what works is what works. But,
All right, getting
yeah,
back to
man.
this budget thing real quick. I know we got off on the shoes, but should we just stop spending? Is that like the actual solution? You can't. We need governments can only move in one direction, and that's their debt can only go up.
Okay, are we as a country saying what's the psyche of the general population? Does the debt scare the common Canadian? That's the question. Do we have this opinion that, we'll pay it off someday, and who's going to pay it off? Which generation? Someone's going to have to suffer along the way, unless as our economy is just incredible all of a sudden, which I don't see happening. But
I think the debt's just accepted. It's your country's always going to go into debt. I don't know who we're paying the debt to. Whoever it is still loaning us money. I mean, whoever's still loaning us the money, good on them. Like, what's the point in trying to pay it off if you keep getting more money for it, right? Like, that's the whole argument about inflation and what's the dollar worth. But look, you just keep kicking that can down, and I'm sure the banks keep making more money on whatever interest.
So I don't mind programs or spending or having initiatives, if you will, but it's how we spend it, the efficiencies, the way the money is being taken care of. I think that we need to improve. Honestly, they should dedicate a good portion of the budget to review all the expenditures in government and to find, let's cut this back and let's find where there's wastage, because we all know in the public sector there's tons of wastage.
You know who ran on that campaign?
Yeah, but he failed, and he's doing it himself. So don't even bring the
Dougler, Mr. Dougler out there cut city council in half because he said you guys don't need half your people. And we don't need half of what he does. Okay, him and his snow shovel. Look, I'm not hitting. He saved on a truck driver.
Let me be fair. Let me be fair. Let me be fair to the Dougler. The Dougler, unfortunately, had to go through COVID, so I got to give him that that pass, if you will. So if he does win again, which I think is probably likely, if a minority,
I'm a huge Dougler fan. I don't know
like.
if you guys noticed yet.
I know, but I think we will see what happens in the next 4 years of stability, what he ends up doing. It's both ways. I'm sitting here saying we shouldn't spend and we shouldn't do this, but when they start cutting, we all scream. So it's the way they do it and how they kind of move those programs. But it's great you're building these hospitals, but are you defunding healthcare? So
I don't know. Empty hospital, but
yeah, I mean, look, it's difficult. We don't want to pay for certain things, but we still, if I think as a society or community, if we decide on, let's say, healthcare, I mean, I'm only speaking from my perspective, is important. And as most people know, we went on strike this year and we found out that people did care. Then we should prioritize those things in the way we spend money as a government, or at least the programs that we have, or find efficiencies. And then other things, not so much. They don't really matter. And I don't agree with the NDP. Just throw money at everything. Like he's saying, I was reading today that he felt like
mental health.
Jagmeet felt like Trudeau's not going far enough. He needs to tax the rich even more. I'm like, All right, man. And what, spend it? So you're still spending money, right? The money needs to come from somewhere. So, we can sit here and say, well, don't spend and you should cut, or, you need to spend. But I just think it needs to be efficient. There's certain systems that shouldn't be changed. I think the healthcare is the weird one. If that's always a talking point in every election, fix it. Someone should come and fix it.
Well,
There's too much government involvement on that, right? So,
there's this whole
or,
cool thing on our medical system, and it was basically something that doctors have been saying for a long time, and the media is only now really pushing this narrative, which was we don't have a medical system of free healthcare so much as we have a system. Hold on, I'm not really phrasing this right, but the gist of it was that our healthcare system is designed to keep people sick. It's not a system that profits from getting people better. Like doctors are making money off seeing patients multiple times, whereas our system should be more preventative, which it's not.
yeah. Um,
Like we should be really
I know,
pushing
I
for.
understand what you're saying. Like, push the fact that the patient should be healthy from the get-go rather than be more of an end-stage system where we're just trying to treat the problem, or say, like, fix the proverbial leaks in the system. But
And a doctor went on the record, kind of. He
yeah,
wrote this whole thing that was crazy that the Globe actually picked up on. I'm doing an injustice by not bringing up the exact thing, so maybe next week we'll go
okay.
more into that one
That's
specifically.
okay.
But it was very much so that the way the system is designed right now is people make money, hospitals make money based on the number of patients they can see, not based on how much money they can save the system.
Hmm. I
So
mean, so there are. I'll explain from my. I mean, people need to get paid, so let's put that aside. I mean,
yeah,
the argument that people make too much money, like, there's always this argument that the surgeons, certain surgeons, you'll probably hear the top OHIP list come out, and everyone's like, oh, it's an outrageous amount of money they're making. Hey, man, I'm all for it. If you're a specialist and I know the detail and the knowledge it takes, and you're doing good work, I have no issue. I think you should be paid, right? Because we should pay for your talent. That's why we want you here. And if the surgeries are technical, even more so, pay people, right? There should not be any issues with that, because if you're fixing something, and the only one I can talk about is cataract, obviously. People get really upset about it. I'm sure there are, a lot of ways we can save money in that as well. But I mean, if you're talking about fixing the system or having people healthy, yeah, but some people just don't want to be, and that's what I'm trying to get at. There's just a portion of the population that, no matter how hard you try on the one end, are still going to end up at the same spot where they need to keep coming back. Diabetes does not make. Why does your family doctor have to keep saying you over and over and over again, right? To tell you to have better control. Why? You know this, but human psychology, we're not good at it. We're not good at certain things, and when we get sick, that's where we go running to the doctor, right? Cold and flu season, you think we'd be okay with that by now, But look, doctors are there to help people, but some people, no matter how hard you try, just will not help themselves. And so, yeah, you're saying, well, why are people coming in and we're charging them all the time? That's the system, Or then let's go for profit. Maybe people
wasn't even so
take
much.
what that's the American thing. Like, oh, well, it's a profit system, and let's get away with public. In America, it's more advantageous for you as a citizen to be healthy,
Yeah,
right? Because healthcare costs is astronomical. What does the general population there do? They're not healthy, right? It does. Like, there you go. If I get sick, I'm gonna have to pay this insane amount of money to be taken care of,
and it
and
hasn't really
that's
dissuaded people, is what you're.
exactly is what I'm trying to say. Like, that whole narrative. No, what I think is that you can pay if we appreciate it. We like healthcare, and we want it to be paid for. Then we pay for it, but we make it work better. Obviously, there's tons of wastage, but to say that we're a for-profit healthcare system, yeah, we are. People need to get paid. This is how the economy works. Nothing's free. Your
Well, I
taxes go to
mean,
pay people.
it wasn't.
Non-for-profits that exist in Ontario, their boards and directors are all being paid, right? Those are jobs. We call them non-profits, but there's people that work there and get paid a salary.
Salary, yeah. No, I get that.
Yeah, that comes from funding, right? So I mean,
The
I don't get
argument-
the notion of,
Well, the argument
you know,
so much wasn't that we're paying too much or we're giving. It was generally like, what if we reward doctors for the amount the patient doesn't come back rather than reward them for the number? So now you're making the care, putting the onus for the doctor to really like push better sort of
I-
treatments.
I don't know, man. Humans are funny. If you work too quick on their healthcare, they say he was too quick. If you don't give him enough information, they say, oh, he's not a good doctor. If you if you help him, I mean, humans are funny like that. I don't know what the answer to that is, but I think if it's a clear, just like we were talking about the real estate, if everything's clear cut and it's transparent, and I think that's where tech's going to have a big thing, right? Like, diabetes management, right? Why, eventually, hopefully, people have trackers that are already sending automatic information to the doctor's file, and it's going through algorithms and AI. And when there is a problem, that's being prompted to the doctor to kind of take care of that, and it's all automated. So yes, less visits. There are ways that are going to happen in the next 20 years. The question: how does OHIP take care of that? How does OHIP implement that? And that's going to be interesting, and how much the government's willing to pay for it, right? So I think the future, there is going to be a lot of technologies that will kind of streamline healthcare. I keep talking about diabetics, but
Well, we're seeing that with insurance now. I don't know if you've heard of like Manulife has a program called Vitality, where you're rated.
no, I haven't heard of it.
So
Yeah,
Vitality, they send you an Apple iWatch. No, it's just called Apple Watch, not the iWatch. I'm so fucked. That's a boomer moment right there. But they give you
That's all right.
they get a free Apple Watch with the trade-off that as long as you're staying healthy and using the watch and you're tracking your steps, you're running, you're cycling, you're doing something within a certain threshold of activity a month, the watch is free.
you're being rewarded.
You're being
Essentially.
rewarded. So they reward you on being active with this free Apple Watch, which is sending them the information of how active you are. And on top of that, they got like a bunch of different programs linked with it where you get free rewards. So you get like free Amazon Prime. You get
It's kind of like the driving insurance ones as well, where they'll put a unit in your car to track how
how you
safe
drive
of a
and-
driver you might be if you're being erratic, and based on that, your insurance rates will fluctuate as well. So
Yeah.
that's another example of you're saying basically being treated for good behavior, but
But tracking good behavior, which is honestly what a lot of the anti-vaccine passport people were afraid of, is we're just moving to this social credit because now
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
offering up this social metric
I
to
mean,
get these
it's
rewards.
it's funny that we need something in the physical world or some kind of reward system to activate that positive feedback loop, if you will.
But aren't we
Whereas
just-
for health, be healthy.
Yeah.
That notion in itself should be enough. And I'm guilty of it, right? Like I'll eat something unhealthy, and after I'm like, oh, I shouldn't have ate that. I know
carrot-
when I'm eating, it's not right.
I mean, we're just creatures of habit. Like we're no different than a rabbit chasing that carrot, right? On the
exactly
stick.
right.
It's like just put
Yeah.
up that reward and we'll work towards it. Quickly slipping off this for now. Sikh Heritage Month, Bhangra versus the whole Bhangra thing. How'd that?
Well, I mean, that's
see
the debate. So, I mean, maybe you can enlighten me. What is Sikh Heritage Month? Let's
So
define
Sikh-
that. What,
Sikh Heritage Month.
I'll play kind of the Bhangra side, not completely, but in a different sense that you could play the other side. But define Sikh Heritage Month.
Sikh Heritage Month was something that came about when Jagmeet first got elected. It was something that everyone said, look, we have a giant Sikh population growing that is racially targeted, racially kind of motivated, has a lot of racial motivated attacks against. And it's a community that's been part of Canada from the get-go. Sir John A. Macdonald, the first Prime Minister of Canada, was sending letters to India asking for more Sikh soldiers. So it's saying, look, here's a visible minority that is a big part of Canadian history, more or less.
Yes.
Here's a month dedicated to them. It's it's not
So
it's
here
not near
let's
as big
so
as
here's
Black Heritage Month or anything like
well
that.
that's fine. I mean
but-
let's define when we say Sikh, do we mean community or do we mean religion?
I mean, Sikh, I think always comes. That's the name of the religion, so it has to be.
No, no. When pertaining to the Heritage Month, are we talking about celebrating the community and all their endeavors, or are we celebrating just the concepts of the religion itself? There has to be a distinction of the two, right?
Fair
So,
enough.
for example, Black History Month, we celebrate prominent Black figures that have accomplished amazing feats in history. Are we not, if we see in Sikh Heritage Month and a crazy cardiologist, and we do a profile on him and say Sikh Heritage Month, that has nothing to do with religion.
Mm-hmm.
We're
I got you.
celebrating the fact that a fellow Sikh has done something. Or
So
if
yeah, we are.
some-
The community is definitely then a big part
exactly, right? The community is a big part. Or if we celebrate, let's say, Maharaj Ranjit Singh, right? We celebrate the historical aspect. Well, let's not remember he was a tyrant, a killer. He's ruthless. Nothing to do with the religion once again, right? But a prominent figure from our history that did unimaginable feats of success in terms of having the Sikh Empire, but has nothing to do with religion per se on
that.
a
You
one-to-one
really just
basis.
went off on Maharaj Ranjit Singh.
No, I love him. I love him, but I don't like the concept that people think it was all kumbaya in those times, right? He killed other missiles to attain his power, and I celebrate that, not just the fact that he's a historical figure like anyone else, a prominent Sikh who accepted the fact that he wasn't a religious Sikh, went to the Akal Takht when he had to, but he wasn't the prominent figure in our religion, and he never pretended to be. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't the leader in religion per se. Other people from our culture, historical aspects, yeah, we celebrate them. Are we celebrating the fact that they are Sikh, they are part of the community? Or are we celebrating them because they did acts within the religion? And I don't think it's the religion. And this is where it gets confusing with the Bhangra thing that came up. I do agree the Bhangra, is a distraction. I'm not going to pretend to defend it because there are better ways to highlight our community. I agree you on that point. But the CBC doing this kind of thing is just highlighting Sikhs in parts of Canada. Identity, it's fine. Maybe the Bhangra wasn't a big deal, but this whole link, like, it's just Punjabi culture and it's this. Define what we're looking for. What is the month? And that's where my frustration comes from always.
So look, even if it's just community, right? There is a way to say, look, Sikhs aren't just Punjabis, and so Bhangra isn't just
Okay,
a
fair enough.
portion of it,
Fair
right?
enough. Fair enough.
The Bhangra
Sikhs
is
are not
definitely-
Punjabis. I like that. Sikhs are not Punjabis. They're all over the world. It's just not
Yeah.
Punjabis that we have to celebrate. But, if there's a Sikh in another part of the world, or you have Goras Sikhs and this and that.
I like how you keep going Sikh. It's so cringe right now. It's driving me crazy because you keep putting the double
Sikh.
E's. It's like, why could you just call
You
it
want me
Sikh?
to say Sikh? Yeah,
It would make
it's
my
my
like,
talking.
I'm like trying my hardest to hold my tongue because it makes me
Sikh.
physically cringe every time you say
I can say
Sikh.
Sikh. I
Look
can
at
say
the
Sikh. It's just me
seekers
talking to
of
other
the
people.
faith.
It's at work when people ask me, right? Well, I can say Sikh. That's not a problem.
I don't know why it was such a visceral, physical, like cringe every time you said
Because it's wrong. It's wrong. That's why it's a visceral reaction. But I don't see the harm in it. Maybe we can celebrate it in a better way. Maybe doing better highlights and stuff like that. Or maybe educating people. That's just not all we are. But definitely, like, there's no malice in it. There was
I
no
don't think there was
malice intent to. And the way the reaction that you get, oh, how dare they? How dare they paint up? And come on, you're the same people dancing at the parties. I see all of you. I see you putting your hands up to Jazzy B songs. Don't act like you don't dance either, okay? We're part of a community, okay? And you're dancing to songs that go completely against the religion. So don't get at me. Listen to Tupac songs. I know all you, right? So like it's the same people. But if it's not a religious month, I think it should be highlighted of successful Canadian Sikhs who have done amazing things, from the first immigrants to Buchan Singh, the Sikh, the first World War One veteran. There's a lot that can be highlighted, but when you put the religion aspect of it, then it's a different conversation. Are we celebrating the religion? Let's celebrate the religion then.
You know what I think it really comes down to, in my opinion, and what really bugs me is for a lot of people, when they think Sikh, they have this animated character of a guy going, bale bale, hi hi, hands up, just Bhangra, right? Like there's this character, 100%. There's this character.
I think we're sensitive to that character.
We are sensitive.
I think we're sensitive, and it's not our fault. and I agree with you because our image has been misaligned through the generations. But I think there's a turning point in this country. You
Exactly.
know,
And I think
you
that's the
know.
turning point that we're like, listen, stop just equating Bhangra with Sikhs. Stop just making this our thing because we want to be known for more. And listen, the Bhangra thing, well, most Sikhs are doing Bhangra at their wedding receptions, right?
Yeah. No, I know. I'm
Majority of
just talking
Punjabis
shit.
are Sikh and most Sikhs are Punjabi, percentage
Yeah.
wise. At the same time, when we're highlighting who we are, don't make this that central thing that you want to highlight because
So
we're tired of that being our character.
so once again, if we're celebrating, like I said, if we're celebrating prominent figures, okay, celebrate prominent figures that will highlight successful people that will paint a different picture or different narrative about who we really are in this country. But if you're going to celebrate culture, now you get confusing. Now it really gets confused because you're like, okay, do we not have musical instruments? Do we not have language? Do we have certain cultural things that we have from back home? Now those are not part of the religion. Do they still get put into Sikh Heritage Month? Sorry, I'm going to say it right there. Sikh Heritage Month. Um, that's the question. So like to be so like angry at Bhangra, I get it. I'm just talking shit here, but I'm just trying to play the other side or at least have a debate. But my side from it is okay, that's fine, but let's highlight everything about our people.
Fair enough.
Um,
And while you
it's
flip on being devil's advocate, I'm going to play devil's advocate on my argument
sure.
here. Is
Okay.
it was why the fuck can I remember this guy's name properly? I always say Gurdeep, but I think it's Gagandeep Pandher,
Okay.
or is it
Oh,
Gurdeep
the
Pandher?
dancer,
The
the
dancer,
East Coast dancer,
no,
the guy
not
you hate.
the guy. I don't hate anyone. I find him cringe at most times. No, he is from the Yukon. He's living out there in the Yukon, and he's been sending Bhangra vibes for every little thing, including the war in Ukraine. Made no fucking sense. Sending positive vibes via Bhangra to Ukraine.
Yeah, but what's no big
The
deal, man.
CBC loves him, right? The CBC
Why?
loves this guy, and they were
Because
highlighting
he's a
this Sikh
yo.
Bhangra dancer
I'm
who's
I'm
sending
I'm down.
vibes.
I'm down with a Sikh doing Bhangra and some positive vibes on CBC rather than Terry Molesky's constant report about you know what. So no, I'm okay with that. I don't have any issues. Yeah, maybe we tell the CBC, hey, it's great you're doing this outreach. Why don't you come and see what we do in Sikh Heritage Month, and
I'm just not
maybe
going to
do
be
a
aware
highlight
of
piece.
saying it properly, but
Yeah, because at work I do it the other way. But funny enough, um, the perception that we have that, other communities think we're just this dancing turban fellow is not consistent. When I was in Scotland and the first day of my orientation where I met my fellow classmates, literally one of my best friends to this day came up, grabbed my arm, saying, "Hey, Kara, 5Ks, bro." Right? I just looked at him. I was like, "What?" And I'm like, "You learn about this?" And he told me everything from the
yeah.
gurus to everything. And I was in utter shock. He didn't say, "Hey, man, Bhangra." He didn't start dancing in front of me. He looked at the card and he goes, "Oh, I know what that means." So that for me, it was like, oh, they don't always see that, right? Now,
See,
we're talking
me and
about
you had
hair.
completely opposite interactions to this because it wasn't really a reaction. It was me applying for a security job at a prominent security company in the GTA. And when I
Who
went
shall not
in,
be named? Who shall
I will
not be
not
named?
name them because I don't have my legal counsel here to protect me. Even though this was a factual event, this actually did happen. I don't have much documentation around it though. So, anyways, I go in for the interview. Guy sees me. He's like, "Ah, you're one of them Punjabi Sikh guys." I was like, "Yeah, you know, thinking, hey, I recognize your kind from your turban and thing. So, do you beat your wife?" What? Yeah, I got a bunch of Sikh women here. They tell me their husbands beat them, and I was like, fuck, this interview's not gonna go
Yeah,
good,
but that's
right?
that's one that's one idiot.
But I mean,
You know,
this was my
that's
first like outside
yeah, but I
reflection
mean
on
that's
our
that's an
community.
that's an idiot who I mean that's a tip. What was he? What was his background?
He was white. He's like the old white cop who was heading the security company now, and I was like, oh
Yeah,
fuck.
I don't
I
take
got the
their.
job, right? But at the same time, I was kind of like, who told him all this?
I'll, t-
And
I'll take one for the team. I got the job. It's good.
I mean, yeah, but at the same time, I was like, man, because I mean, and it's not to downplay the issues in our community because we do have a lot of this stuff going on, drinking abuse and alcohol abuse, and we do have spousal abuse. These are all real issues.
Yeah, those are look,
Um,
those are internal
but when
community issues. But you know what happens is when the the good things of our community, we keep those internalized. We do great things, but we don't expose the world to that. And yeah, we're not good at that. I'm not good at that. I mean, a lot of people aren't good at that. But like those Instagram videos where someone takes off their pug to save someone from a river. I don't know how many countless ones I've seen now, but I ain't mad at that. Some people are mad at them. Like, hey man, it paints you in a better picture, better light. Go for it. Like, that's not a bad thing. We should promote it. Or, guys like the defense minister when those are big deals, right? That like there's a image that people are getting accustomed to when they see a Sikh. They're not Sikh. Sorry, they're not thrown back. I'm going to keep laughing at that. Yeah. Now you got me cringing that I'm saying it. It's like saying a certain word I shouldn't say. But like identity wise, I think it is a big deal because we're recognized not just on a cultural aspect, though, like the one you highlighted, but they will say prominent people, and then hopefully that's what that Heritage Month does. I just don't think we should be caught up in such little things about the CBC displaying Bhangra. Okay, then we should display better things. Let's be honest. We should have more positive stories. We should go out there and do that and highlight the CBC or invite them. But don't get mad when a bunch of, Upper get across the country and get approached by the CBC and like, yeah, we'll do it. That's awesome. Let's get to. It's positive. It's not meant in malice. And to come out against it, that's where I was thrown back. I'm like, cool, maybe a different light. But really, the anger? I don't know, man. It's not, you got to pick. If it's religious, then stop using figures from history that weren't religious. Simple as that. That's my take on it. Pick, is it religious or is it cultural? But you have to decide what it is. It just can't be one or the other, right?
All right. All right, moving on quickly. I'll give you the last word on that one. Musk bought up Twitter. Not bought up Twitter. He bought 9.7%, makes him the highest shareholder in this.
Yeah, he bought it. he basically, but wasn't he? I think he was speaking about free speech. It was a few weeks back saying, maybe there's a need for another platform, and he just says forget it, and he just buys one. So, what's your take? What do you think?
I think it's dope. So, like I said, we have this really weird perception of free speech when it comes to private companies. Twitter is a private company. It's a platform. It's not a right amended to us to be able to post whatever we want on it. You post people getting beheaded on Twitter. You can't say, well, it's free speech. I'm just sharing what's going on in the world. Twitter has a liability. They have obligation to censor certain types of content. Pirated content, people aren't just able to like post a 5,000 tweet movie thread sharing every single clip without the DMCA coming after a tweet. And to a certain degree, as we've seen, misinformation and the way lies can be peddled and cause harm, where people read these things and they act on them physically, kidnapping politicians or bombing maybe a group at a mosque or taking over a Gurdwara and shooting it up based on the information they read on these platforms. I think the platforms themselves do have a certain responsibility when it comes to quelling disinformation, quelling lies, quelling conspiracies. They can't be seen just as, well, we're just a platform and anyone can post on it. And to a degree, I kind of feel like I'm not pro censorship, but there's responsibilities that come on you for.
But that's okay. I agree with you. I don't know why people always complain. Oh, they banned me for saying free speech. It's their company. They can do whatever they want. Like, sometimes there's been situations in some of the stores I work in where people come in, they get in a fight with some of the staff, and the owner proceeds to kick them out. And they're like, oh, this is wrong. It's against the law. It's a private store. Like, you can't act like the way you want. If they don't like it, they can kick you out. 100%. These are private businesses, and you have to be respectful. Where I think, if someone's, is this even possible to create, I guess, like open source kind of thing, like just a website that no one owns? And it's just that you can post whatever you want on it. The problem with Twitter, they're making money off it, right?
Yeah,
so that's why they're liable. That's why they're liable. But if you just had some random website out there where you can just post whatever you want, it's just a bunch of junk, like a spray painting on a wall. Then I'd be like, yeah, that's free speech. Do whatever you want.
You're describing 4chan basically to a T, right? That's what 4chan was.
But did someone own it?
It was owned by a company. Their whole thing was whatever. They created a bunch of boards.
But they still
4chan
owned
is
it.
where 4chan is where like a lot of that QAnon stuff exists, where a lot of like the conspiracy theories really floated on was 4chan was a big place where a lot of this kind of
No,
was
but there was
created
still
and moved.
what I'm saying. It's not like just a straight, text board. Someone
Yeah,
owned it. That's still an app. Someone really still monitored it, right? Or at least is operating it. I'm just saying if there was some free space, like a wall, and you wanted to do whatever you want, cool. Because you can say whatever you want to at the end of the day. No one can really stop you. But
the way
if
4chan operated was very much like that. Other than there was someone who paid the hosting fees and stuff.
that's what I mean. It's still owned by somebody, right?
The advertising was
uh,
very much
yeah,
not
targeted.
so. It was not so targeted. It wasn't like you wouldn't see a Ford ad up on that website. It would be very like shady websites just
I see. Okay.
going
Dark
there.
web. Dark
It
web.
was, I think, for
Um,
weird way, 4chan was considered part of the dark web. But yeah, no, there's been decentralized solutions where no one owns control
yeah.
of like the thing, so you could get away with doing anything, and they try to come up with other ways to reward or penalize bad actors and stuff, which was more community driven, not so much from a central authority and thing. Authorian.
Yeah, like no,
Holy
no one's
smokes, English.
dictating the
No
no
one's
one's
really
dictating the rules. The
The
communities come up
community,
with the terms. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, but
yeah.
none of
So
those
this comes up in
platforms
a lot
really
of
move, right?
projects.
Because the tech that needs to work, like Twitter, the amount of data Twitter handles, what was it? It's like 1 million tweets a minute.
That's crazy.
Like the amount of data that's going through their systems at all times, and it's only ever getting bigger because they're archiving it all, right?
It costs money, is what
It
you're
costs
saying.
money, and
It costs money. Someone needs
even
to
on
own it.
these decentralized
Look,
platforms, it's just
when
not
you sign
manageable,
up for the user agreement, surely if you read it,
which no one does.
they're with
No one ever
exactly.
double clicks that
They're
UI.
within their rights, and I
Yeah.
don't see why everybody complains about free speech. If you don't like it, you're free to go out on the road and start yelling what you want. Go ahead. You have free speech. You just don't like in the fact the avenue or the media you have to take to get to say what you want. So
And I think Twitter's
yeah,
tried to play it very, very carefully, but I think what really started ticking people off was during the Trump administration is when they really
yeah,
started to level it up because they're like, we have to,
yeah.
because that's his platform of choice, where they would
And they and
legit
it
comment
was
on
actually
his
having
tweet
yeah. Well, he's
saying,
using it for real world changes, right? He's saying something,
yeah.
something would happen, or
So they'd have to
you can
highlight,
get people doing some wild, crazy stuff, and you saw the real power of Twitter with Trump. I think
yeah.
that's the reality, right? You saw, wow, you can actually do something with it. But I mean, talking about Trump, supposedly his platform's not doing too well. I didn't even know he had a platform till today. But
What was it called? I
supposedly
forget what, do you remember
I
what
have
the
no
name
idea what it's
is?
called, but it's failing. So
I mean, here's the thing
hopefully,
that
I
people
mean,
don't
is that a
realize with
surprise with
platforms.
all his other businesses have failed? We're not surprised, are we?
No, not, I mean, the thing with all platforms, you're not going to make a platform of where it's just you yelling at people. There has to be like more of an incentive to be using or go on a platform.
I
Uh,
honestly thought he was gonna. I thought he was gonna make a a TV network,
I think he
and
did.
just have like that would be smart. Like or like have some, buy Fox and have a good share in that. And I'm gonna have an hour show at night to talk to America. Like I would have been like, all right, smart play. But yeah, I don't see him succeeding in anything. So
So
we'll
it
see.
was no surprise.
No
I feel
surprise to
like
me that it failed. Come on. What
I feel like a
hotels, the
plat
steaks to what other?
the
He had a
school,
water company
he had
and
a
The
university.
Apprentice, and let's not forget the presidency.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
not too much success on his end, right? So not
yeah,
a surprise.
yes. I mean, at the end of the day, I just don't. Freedom of speech isn't a guaranteed right for private businesses. You're allowed to stand on the corner and say, I guess, everything you want,
Everything
and
you want.
back. And I think someone can come punch you in the face for it. I think that's fair game too. Uh,
This guy is
but
still defending Will Smith. Still defending Will
well, it
Smith.
came up recently with Ronaldo again this week. We'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah, it's
But
fine. Yeah.
no, I mean, every platform I use, I've never really been like, I have the ability to do whatever I want on this platform. I'm using your platform. You get to dictate what it
I
is I
think
say or
Trump. You know
do.
what it is? There's this kind of you can call it a psychological thing with humans or just the way we are in terms of our own social circles. Um, let's say you're posting on Twitter. There was always this one thing, like not to embarrass yourself, right? In Punjabi, "Sharm honi chahiye," right? Like there's always this little bit of thing where you're like, yo, I can't go too far. And I think that's with everybody. That's just not a culture thing. Most humans have that. So the only ones on Twitter would be like those like fake accounts and burner accounts that are, saying things and saying inflammatory things. Trump was the first guy that you
Do it under his own
should have,
name.
and just went, hey, you know what? I'm gonna go full on this, full send. Let's go. And that's what I think surprised Twitter and the whole social media aspect, even Facebook. They're like, oh, this is gonna be thrown back in our faces, and hence the clampdown. There's always this one thing. Oh, someone's not gonna embarrass themselves too much, on Twitter, say the wrong thing because it can have ramifications for them in their own private life. For example, politicians. But Trump just threw that to the wind and said, "No, let's go." LFG. So,
And he got elected for it,
and he got elected. So like that, it changed that whole like aspect of social media for me, right? Like anyone can get on, and some politicians try to follow suit. You got that, what's her name, Marjorie something from Georgia, who just is literally trying to be the female version of Trump, but it's opened the door to that kind of, I can say whatever I want because free speech, and there's no ramifications as long as people vote for me. So kudos to Trump, I guess, for doing something,
opening the door. I mean,
opening the door.
Kind of moving on this thing. I remember we haven't talked about Pierre and Brown and the
PP, his new
PP,
nickname,
yeah.
Mr. PP.
So yeah, I don't know if you've been seeing this, but this guy's been like packing his halls with like legit people, not just like paid actors that Punjabis are known for to do, like bringing everyone they know. He's legit getting a lot of attention in all the different areas he's going. People want to be around this guy. Hands down, the favorite.
Was he part of the Muslim? Was he part of the Muslim hotline? Did he vote? He voted for it, right?
He probably did.
End of story. I don't know why all these people are around this guy. So like, bring up all those things and like, have some sharm, right?
And he may have apologized for it since, but I mean, this guy has so much traction. It's hard to not. I knew he was a front runner for a while, but
look, he has that voice. He has that great, like, it's the way he's talking. He seems like he knows what he's talking about. And it honestly, when I listen to, I hear an actor. I'm listening to it like, yeah, he's valid points. But would you trust that man going into battle? That's my question.
Is he Zelensky?
Yeah, no.
I mean, are you saying you trust Trudeau going into battle?
Zelensky's an actor.
A comedian,
that guy.
right?
That guy's a G.
But I mean, we have a drama teacher. Do we follow him in the war?
Well, he was good at drama. I remember he had makeup class. And
he was really good at makeup.
He's very good in the makeup department. But no, not following him into war. It's just like, I mean, Trudeau. Fair enough. Is Trudeau what I consider Trudeau in the same? Not no more. I think when he was getting voted in, there was a lot of optimism and the way and you give him a pass on the way he talked because it was all like this big rush of excitement with the guy. But now it's like
See, now I can understand. The way Trump got in makes a lot more sense. I don't know if Obama was as hated as Trudeau is.
Dude, Obama was at the White House the other day and he was speaking. I was like, man, this guy is just like
above and beyond.
Just charisma. Just the charisma, man. You're like, yeah, I'd follow you, man. Tell me where to go.
It's just weird though. Like I remember the hype Trudeau had before the elections, before it all, and now it's just kind of like I legit want to vote conservative just to get him out and get that whole cabinet out because I just don't agree.
Change is not a bad thing. So you're right on that. But his kind of shine, if you will, he's kind of wore off once the script went away. He's very good at a script. Trudeau's great at that. Like he has a script down. He does that kind of caring voice, but you start asking him questions and it wears off. All right. And that's what's kind of starting to show that the script is great. He knows how to act like it. But compared to these other guys who are going to come in, they're going to do the complete opposite. PP's going to do the complete opposite of him, right? PP's going to be there like, just seem like the strong man in the room. That's what he's going to do. And that's the way he acts. So,
I will vote PP. I'll vote PP. I'm such a loser.
It's a great name, PP.
I'd vote PP. I'd vote Brown. I'd vote. Honestly, give me. I'd vote. There's very few conservatives at this point that I wouldn't vote for. I didn't want to vote for O'Toole because I had a personal thing against his Sikh hotline that he tried to introduce.
A Sikh or Sikh?
Sick.
But he called it a Sikh hotline. He called it a Sikh hotline.
It wasn't even a hotline. He was just like, I don't even remember the motion he tried to pass, but it was very much we are against radical Sikhs and stand with all like peace loving Sikhs. And we're like, what the fuck do you mean radical Sikhs? What radical Sikhs are you against right now?
Oh, that's the same. Is it Priti Patel, the UK
person?
UK Home Minister, Home Secretary?
Such a weird
I mean, it's something easy to say, right? They get paid to say it, so
Yeah.
it's fine.
So once he did that,
Paid
most
and
people
not
tried to,
money, but in some way they get something from it to say
when he
that.
tried
So.
to make that like members bill, I was like, you know what, Mr. O'Toole, fuck you. Um, but I
Hold
don't
on,
know.
but did PP do the Muslim hotline?
I mean, I can look that up
Because
for
that
you,
should
but
offend you. It should offend you. It should offend all of us.
yeah, it should. But I hate the liberals to the point where this is where I understand why Trump came in power. I
And
hate the
do you hate the
liberals.
liberals? Do you hate the liberals or their leader?
I just can't stand the liberal policies right now. I just feel like they're taking advantage of us and treating us like idiots to the point where I just don't want to see them in power anymore.
I think
I
what's going to happen if he loses, if Trudeau loses, um, the next election, liberals hopefully, and my sense is they'll go a bit more centrist. That
I don't
the
even think
motion to
it's.
the right.
I
I
just
think
feel
it
like
is. It's too left
no,
leaning,
no.
man.
I never even felt. I felt like they were just lying and constantly making dumb moves that don't really justify. And
It just sounds like they say the right thing. Well, I
I
mean, most
just
politicians do,
I just feel so tricked
but
by them. It's not even that that I'm all of a sudden anti-liberal. I mean, get a proper liberal leader. It's not that I'm
well, look,
down
like
with the
we're
PP and
remember.
all
I mean,
that, but
I think
I was
PP.
I had such high
Look,
hopes for the Liberal Party when they came in that now it's just like, bro, you've embarrassed me enough, made me feel like enough of an idiot for supporting you. Let's just get the Conservatives in there one time and clear house.
I mean, look, we we always assume that the political leaders we elect, the Dougler, Trudeau, PP, are the
Right,
smartest
I'm loving
people.
Douglas right now.
Are
the,
the smart are the smartest people in the room, or have the brightest ideas.
you're telling me
The
that
older
Douglas
I
does it right now?
the older I get, I just think they're normal people, right? I think this is a job opportunity, but I hope the people they surround themselves with
Are smart.
are of certain caliber that they'll get some work done. So even the leadership, I'm not into it anymore. I mean, I'm getting I don't even care. Be
I
it
follow it.
PP, be it JT, be it the Dougler, be it whoever you want,
PB.
Patrick Brown, PP, who it is. But in the end, it's going to be. Is it really going to change? Is my question. Is something if something? Hey, look, if the conservatives come in and they do it, hey, I'm conservative. Done. They did something right. Cool. Right. If the
I'm just
liberals
getting
had
of
done
age.
something, well, if the liberals had done something great in the last year, you would have been kind of, yeah, all right, I'm all right with their policies.
They
Nothing's
did.
connecting, right? Nothing's connecting, and that's what's happening. And Jagmeet is now like, I did something with power, so I don't know what planet he's living on, but look, people think the dental care thing is great. Sure, cool. Let's talk about other issues that are going to affect every single person. I don't think that's going to affect everybody. It's only going to help a little bit of people.
Fair enough. All right, quickly going to Bandit of the Week because it's become such a thing. I know some. I don't know. Is Ronaldo really Bandit of the Week for slapping a fan's phone
I
out of their
couldn't,
hands?
to be fair, just full disclosure, I couldn't actually think of a Bonder of the Week this week. It's been pretty quiet on my end of things, but you brought up Ronaldo slap. Was it a fan? Was it a fan?
Yeah, so he was Everton fan. He's leaving the pitch, and then he just messed up his leg.
Yeah.
So he's kind of like limping off, and fans are heckling him as he walks off. One guy has a phone pretty close to outreached over the stands, and Ronaldo just slaps it out. It was pretty vicious. It was his family posted pictures.
That's
I mean,
yeah.
he didn't do it he didn't look up, even make eye contact where he slapped it out. He just slapped it out as he continued
So
walking.
he had a moment of frustration, and did he apologize?
He apologized on Instagram.
He probably but Ronaldo's a pretty stand-up guy, man. I don't think he's
He bought the guy a new iPhone, I'm sure, but
yeah, he probably bought him more than that. But look, he wasn't defending his wife, who says she didn't want him to defend or marry him in the first place. So he's not that much of a bunder to me. Will Smith is the eternal king of bunders right now.
I don't think it was a bonded move. I like I said, man, you piss people off. I think violence is a necessity sometimes.
The boy needs help, brother.
I don't know. I'm still not over this. I still have so many people messaging me telling me how wrong I was.
You're so senti on the Will Smith stuff.
thing. I mean, at the end of the day, I really could care less what happens to Will Smith as
Hey, he's just another idiot like all of us. Okay, that's the truth. He's not this guy shining.
y'all never
bro.
got
He's
into
just-
fights in middle school or
Yeah,
high school
bro.
when
I
someone
never
talks
went
shit
on my
about your-
graduate. Look, listen. I never went up on the stage when I was getting my diploma and punched the chancellor or the principal in the mouth. Say, "Yo, keep my name out your mouth." Right? Like, come on. Like, there's just times where you might be angry, and I'm gonna deal with it later. Right? There's ways to deal with things, and he.
Y'all never got offended when people made mom jokes and shit, man. I remember
Yeah,
so many
but-
fist fights broke out over mom jokes. What?
So Will Smith till the end, man. You're gonna. That's the sword you're gonna die on, eh?
I'm
That's
just saying.
the one.
I'm
That's
pro crazy.
the one.
I'm
That's the
pro
one.
crazy.
You didn't hold my feet against the fire on the Sikh or the Sikh Heritage Month, but the Will Smith one, man, you perked up and you're ready to fight me. So
I'm just saying. I really don't consider Ronaldo the Bandit of the Week. With Ronaldo being Bandit of the Week, I was trying to
Sure.
ask, is he Bandit of the Week for this? Because in my mind, he's not.
I don't
So it's
think
not
he
really
is.
a Bandit of the Week, but I mean, I was also a fan of like that Indiana Pacer brawl when they went after the fans for throwing pop at them. Like, you
The
know what? You
stages?
need to do that. You need to put those.
Yeah, that was wrong though. Like there's there's rights and wrongs. Ronaldo was wrong, but in the I don't think it was. It was when he was leaving the pitch in a moment of frustration, a fan got in his face. And there's been cases like that in football or soccer, whatever you want to call it, where there'll be someone who runs onto the pitch and there's other guys like Zlatan and all these other guys will punch him in the face, right? Like they don't believe in that kind of, this is our place of work. Don't come on the pitch. And the fans should know better too, right? So they're kind of asking for it in that way. But come on, man. Chris Rock made a joke about G.I. Jane. It's a G.I. Jane joke, bro.
It was a funny
G.I.
joke
Jane.
too. I'm not even mad
It was
at
a
the
good
joke.
joke.
I'm not even mad at the joke. I won't lie.
Yeah, what you got to ask is those things that are losing their hair if they felt sensitive to that joke.
Yeah, I guess that's our next.
And if they don't feel sensitive, you got no reason, bro. You got no reason.
I'm just saying. I don't think I'll ever win this one. Anyways, this episode went super long without hairless Ranjit, so it shows that we can hold a conversation without his friggin' bald ass.
Now Ranji has the right to hit you in the face if he wants to for saying
Listen,
that.
man, if he came and punched me in the face for that, I'd be like, stop being so sensitive. But I would take it. I would like, yeah, I probably had that coming still.
Fair enough. On that note.
All right, on that note, nothing to plug. Everyone just keep hitting people up to listen to us because I don't know why you would want someone to listen to us, man. That's almost like punishment.
Yeah, I don't know. This is more therapy for us than it is for you. So listening our torture, yeah, that's fine.
Hold on, you want to really show these guys how you're holding your mic this episode? This is the greatest thing. This guy
DIY cup, man.
This guy put his microphone in a cup to prevent it from flipping over and give it some height. A cup, a glass.
Hey, man. Call me Tim the Toolman Taylor. Just
Another
smart.
man everyone tried to cancel, but hey, on that note, I thought it was brilliant. I thought
On
we
that
had to
note.
share that.
well,
On
not the
that note,
character. The character was fine. Maybe not the actor.
Yeah. All right, boys.
All right.
Everyone, thank you
All
for
right,
making it
guys.
this far in the episode. If you did make it this far in the episode, please hit that like button, just so that you could tell, just so we have an indication of how many people actually got this far.
Subscribe.
Hit that subscribe button on Spotify, on your podcast app, and especially on YouTube, because we're trying to get that YouTube money, baby.
Even if you didn't like us, subscribe. Tell us why you don't like us. We'll still take it.
No, I might want to slap you in the face for it, but that's a whole different
Anyways,
thing. All
be
right.
safe, everybody. Have a good
Peace.
week.